Live, Laugh, Larceny discusses true petty crimes that may be disturbing to some.
Or could be easy listening to all you psychopaths out there.
All stories are based on actual events, but details may vary.
Listener discretion is not advised.
Live,
Laugh,
Larceny. Welcome to Live, Laugh, Larceny. Seriously, does anyone have pudding for dessert anymore? This is Trevin.
And I'm Amanda. Is that a genuine question?
Yeah, I was having some deep thoughts for intros, and I was like, wait, does anybody have pudding for dessert anymore?
You know, I actually have quite a few pudding boxes at my house currently, and maybe I just need to whip some up tonight for dessert. Thank you.
Do you have it regularly, or have these been in your cabinet for like years?
They've been there for months.
Months, okay.
Months and months. And I didn't even buy them. They were leftovers that somebody else gave to me.
See, and that's what I'm saying. I'm a dessert guy. I love baked goods. I love ice cream. And sure, I mean, pudding when it's in a donut or something is great. My mom used to make it a lot, whip it up, and then it would sit in the fridge, and it's like, hold on, it's not cool enough, and then you eat it. But at least my circle of people, if we're having pudding, we ain't talking about it.
Well, my dad has made homemade pudding with Lila, and it is fire.
Ooh, homemade.
So, anywho, Trevin.
Yes.
I know that we need to all start eating more pudding, but what is your dreadful dilemma this week?
This week, I want to talk about anxiety.
Ooh.
But not in a serious way.
Oh, okay.
So Emily and I were out taking a walk not too long ago, and a cop car came driving down our street slowly. They had their little spotlight, and they were running it real slowly across all the houses and looking at people's backyards, and they were doing it on both sides. And Emily and I were like, whoa, somebody must be running or something. I wonder what's going on. So that was a thing. It was no big deal. Then last night, we were up a little bit later because it was a Friday night. I took Mabel out to go pee, and the second I went out to pee, that cop was passing my house again slowly and was doing the same thing, spotlighting in the yard, spotlighting across the houses.
Oh my God, you had a fugitive on the run in your neighborhood.
I must.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have any jails or anything anywhere near our home, but there is a school not too far. So it makes me think that maybe a kid did something stupid and is just running through the neighborhood, or that neighbor of mine is calling the cops anytime they think they see somebody walking by that shouldn't be out. Because remember...
Oh, yeah, your wild-ass neighbor.
She was going to say something to us because she said she, quote, thought we were kids because we were out at like 11 walking the dog. So I had stepped out to let Mabel out, and he had just missed me. But when we were out the first time, he had shined across us, and we just didn't raise any red flags.
Yeah.
But I started having this anxious thought. I'm like, oh my God, I really narrowly escaped being caught by his light. He almost caught me walking my dog out. Because I'm usually in my slippers when I go to do that. And I thought, what if he was looking for somebody who happened to look just like me? And then like in my head, I'm just thinking about the whole scenario and giving myself anxiety. But my anxiety was so stupid because I imagined him shining the light on me, stopping his car real quick and be like, that looks just like the guy I'm looking for. Walking up to me and being like, hey, what are you doing here? And I'm like, I'm letting my dog pee. I live at this home. And he's like, prove it. And I said, I live here. I can let you in if you want. And then in my head, I imagined him grabbing me and then just saying, show me the deed to the home.
Wow.
Because in my brain, that's what I thought a cop would do if you got arrested at your house. Because it made me think of when you're in a car and they say license and registration. It's like, if you get in trouble at your house, they're like, show me the deed to your home.
They're like, and I need 2 pieces of verified mail with your name on it. This is the DMV, motherfucker.
And to be honest, I just bought a house, like 2 years ago, and I don't even remember if a deed was part of that. Is a deed still a thing, or is that like a cowboy term?
A cowboy term.
You get the deed, and then you see a wanted poster.
I mean, we didn't have a deed. We actually became blood brothers with our realtor, so we actually didn't need a deed.
That's nice.
Yeah, it worked out beautifully.
And I snapped out of it once I did that, because once I started having anxious thoughts about having a man screaming, "Show me the deed to the home."
Were you like, I'm tripping after that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, that's a silly thing to be worried about. For the whole night last night, I'd look at Emily and say, "Show me the deed to the home." I don't even know if that's a thing to ask somebody.
Now that you mention it, to answer honestly, the deed. I'm going to sound so dumb if I give you an answer one way or the other, so I'm just going to zip it.
Yeah, I already laid out for this one.
So thank you for doing that, Trevin.
And I bought a house much more recently than you.
Yeehaw! Cowboy language. Gotta love it.
Mm-hmm.
So I also have a dreadful dilemma, and it was also a situation that I experienced. So recently, you kind of know about this. One of our mutual friends, my childhood best friend that I've known her whole life, I recently helped her move. I could just leave it at that, right? Moving sucks.
Yes, we've talked about it.
Yes. But it just progressively got more and more tough throughout the day. And how it ended was very dreadful for me. So not only did I show up, I'm the only other person that's moving, and it's me and my friend who is literally 5'2", very small. I mean, she's mighty. She's small and mighty, but literally there was only two of us and a bunch of her stuff. I'm talking queen bed, box spring, a couch, a bunch of mirrors, a giant cat tower. The list goes on and on and on and on.
Yeah.
So not only was that already a big project, but once we actually got it all loaded up in the U-Haul and drove it to her new place, she's on the 3rd floor, and she is the furthest apartment from both entrances, right in the middle.
Oh, yeah.
So no matter if we went in this way or if we took the freight elevator, there were multiple ways that we could move things in, like larger things and smaller things, but she was the furthest apartment away. So it was like a journey. I showed you my legs. They're all banged up. We put our blood, sweat, and tears into this thing. We got her all moved. And to be honest with you, it was starting to end on a positive note, because both Molly and I were like, hell yeah, this is our first time moving a whole place without a man. We were kind of feeling really empowered and really great. And we only had one load left of just really small little things. So we pull in, we're in the parking garage, and we're about to carry this in. My face is beat red, drenched in sweat, like I'm saying, a full day of this, okay?
Yeah, it was a pretty humid day, wasn't it?
Oh, it was super hot. It was in the 90s, yes.
Midwest heat.
And so we're about done, and this car pulls up. It's this older woman, and she leans out her car with her window rolled down. She's like, hey, how about you go ahead and move out of my parking spot? So first of all, this is Molly's move-in day. She didn't know that there were designated parking spaces. So we just calmly were like, okay, okay, this is her first day moving in, like we're going to move. And she was just such a little biatch to us, glaring at us, watching us. I said, look, I don't even have my keys. I had to run all the way down these maze of halls trying to get my key. And eventually I started walking because I'm like, this lady was glaring at me and was asking so rude. So why am I huffing and puffing after a long day?
Right.
So I went and got my keys, brought them back. And the whole time, Trevin, after I pulled out of the parking spot and I had to pass her to get out of her way so she could park, this bitch was mean mugging me.
I thought you were going to say she was flipping you off.
No, she was just looking me up and dumping like, with her little cranky old lady face. Oh my God, I'm going to sound so mean.
Well, she sounds so mean.
I know. She's kind of glaring at me, so I start giving her a look. So we're both just eyeing each other down in this slow-mo car passing situation. She ends up walking in. My friend and I, Molly, we grab her stuff and we walk in, and I'm eyeing her and I'm like, oh, I see you. And I go, Molly, now I know where this lady lives. And she's like, oh my God, we got to get you out of here before we find an old woman. But yeah, it was a long day, and it almost ended with me and an old lady throwing down in a parking garage.
Hey, selfishly, for the pod, as long as we could bail you out within 24 hours, I would have taken that sacrifice.
Oh my God. I think Molly was a bit concerned. It was a long day. Patience was wearing thin. I had her big laptop monitor thing.
Oh.
And I was like, I could use this as a weapon. It was a real thing. I'm glad it didn't go there.
Nothing gets me angrier than just being really hot and uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I'm bad with that.
And then moving on top of that, on top of the heat.
Because you find yourself in a lot of places and spots where you have no airflow. It seems like you always just find a way. Maybe it's a dead air hallway or something.
For us, it was a freight elevator thing that they let us use to move our heavy shit. Oh my God. It reeked like dead animal in there. Something wasn't right.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Probably Molly. Zing.
So we are going to be doing 2 truths and a lie this week.
I've got 3 wires. Which one do I cut?
I'll give you 2 truths and a lie.
But wait, we don't have time for this. And you are gracing us with them first.
This has been one that I've been wanting to do for quite some time. It actually took me a while to find 3 solid things about it to do. So this week, I'm going to be doing 2 truths and a lie about everyone's favorite pastime, getting served.
At the restaurants?
No, unfortunately, in this instance,
The basketball
court? No, not that one either.
Shit, you got served, sucker.
Nope. I'm talking about legally getting served court documents, okay? I'm talking about process servers.
Oh, the messenger.
So here we go. Statement number 1. Process servers can impersonate law enforcement to serve someone. Statement number 2. Hip-hop mogul Dr. Dre was served divorce papers right after his grandmother's funeral. And statement number 3. The average age of an employed process server is 48 years old.
That age one's weird.
I know, the numbers one always kind of throw you off, huh?
I'm going to go with that as the lie. At first, I was thinking it would be the Dr. Dre one, except maybe Dr. Dre has a famous story with it, but it's maybe just slightly different. But something about that third one's still just not right for me, because I feel like some servers might have to do some dastardly things that only a young, peppy process server would need. So I'm going to go with 3 as the lie.
And you're wrong. You're far, far off the scent this week, Trevin, because...
Well, I stated my case pretty well.
Statement number 1 is actually the lie. And you know what is so funny? I knew that, but when I was listening to your thought process, I almost believed you. But no, statement number 1 is the lie. So I said process servers can impersonate law enforcement to serve someone, okay? But actually, some of the rules of the job include the following. You have to be honest about who you are. You can never impersonate law enforcement.
Oh, God.
You have to leave all mail alone, even if it may show who currently resides at the property alone. And you have to stay off of private property. So you can't impersonate a law enforcement, which honestly, I would have not known about that one either, because on movies all the time,
Yes.
You see people in the disguises, you see people delivering the flowers, which apparently is a real thing. The flower delivery is a really common way that people serve people with paperwork if they think they're trying to hide or whatever.
So when you say they have to say who they are, you mean only if they're asked?
Probably so.
Like, it wouldn't be lying, it would just be withholding information.
I think that's what it is. And also, the more I was looking into it too, every single state in the U.S. has different rules too.
Yeah.
That might be something you want to look into if you're worried about this happening. Also, statement number 2 is true. On October 2021, Dr. Dre was served with divorce papers at his grandmother's funeral. Dr. Dre and Nicole Young were married in 1996, and Nicole filed for divorce in June of 2020, citing irreconcilable differences. Both parties agreed that the story is true. However, Dr. Dre said he was served in the cemetery, which he found very disrespectful, while his ex-wife claimed, no, he was actually served in the parking lot. I would say either one is probably very bad timing.
Yeah, you're still pretty freshly mourning. I mean, even
Yeah.
if the person been dead for a few days, it's like the emotions really come flooding back on that day.
Oh, absolutely. Like,
Yeah.
whoa, read the room. And then the last statement is also true. The one that you were having a really hard time wrapping your mind around, which when you were saying that, it also made a lot of sense to me too. Maybe you need a more young, manipulative, agile person in their youth. But these are the facts that I have for you all. So, according to Zippia, and that's a website that I got this particular fact from. According to Zippia's data science team, the average process server is 48 years old. 65.1% are men and 59.3% are white. So it's yet another reason to avoid middle-aged white men.
I'm totally with you on that.
Yeah, that's where we are, Trevin.
That's interesting about the age. And the main reason why that is just because the only thing I know about these people is movies.
Right.
And I guess this just happens to be a job that Hollywood has chosen to have a lot of fun with.
Right.
And not really portray it in a realistic way, because I'm thinking like secret agent who's tossing papers and doing wild shit. And you're telling me he can't be a cop?
Daryl Denton in Pineapple Express. Seth Rogen when he was like showing up in the ER operating room with papers and shit like that. I need to go back and watch it. But yeah, Hollywood does a really good job of putting them in these bizarre situations, which, like I said, I have heard that the flower one is very true.
Mm-hmm.
Also, when I found the fact about Dr. Dre, I was just looking for any weird serving things that happened with like well-known celebrities so that that could be a fun one. But I found some really embarrassing and weird ones, like the actress Olivia Wilde, when she was doing the movie Don't Worry, Darling, and there was all this drama going on, and she was talking about it at some sort of a film festival, and she was served custody papers on stage. There's a lot of cringy ones. Oh my God.
That's wild.
Because they know where they're going to be at that exact time. And maybe this is a person that travels a lot for their job, but still, that's cutthroat. Ooh, I could not do that as a living.
That would be like working in the funeral industry. It's just people on their worst days.
Yeah.
Well, I like that. That was fun. And mine is actually going to be something kind of on what we touched on during our dilemmas. But we are at the beginning of the summer. It's heating up. And I think it's important that we all pay tribute to the great Lord above, air conditioning. So I want to give you
Praise the Lord.
So I want to give you 2 truths and a lie about air conditioning. Statement 1. Modern air conditioning was originally invented to dry ink. Statement 2. Early AC units were found to have aided deadly diseases due to improper filtration. Or statement 3. The trend of summer movie blockbusters was started by the invention of air conditioning.
I'm going to go with statement 3 is the lie.
So you believe that summer movie blockbusters were not based around the invention of air conditioning?
Yes.
Incorrect.
Dang it.
So the lie is early AC units were found to have aided deadly diseases due to improper filtration.
I mean, I'm glad. Don't get me wrong.
It seems totally plausible.
That one to me was like, oh yeah, that one for sure is true. Wow.
So coming to you from HitachiAircon.com. Before I go any further, this was another one of those situations. This was a great website to learn a fun little thing, but it's not a fact website. Hitachi is an air conditioning brand.
Yes, I'm telling you, it's a real thing.
To Hitachi, we see you working, girl.
I see you.
We see you. Okay. Get some. You get to be on our show, and maybe you made a sale. So, statement number 1. The modern air conditioning was invented to dry ink. This is true. Surprisingly, the first modern instance of an air conditioner wasn't invented for the purpose of cooling and human comfort, but to regulate humidity at a publishing company. At the beginning of the 20th century, a publishing company commissioned engineer Willis Carrier to deal with a humidity problem in their building. The high humidity levels prevented the ink from fully drying, making it smudge and also caused magazine pages to wrinkle and deform. Then they found that it actually helped cool the building as well, and then it kind of went from there.
They started probably noticing like, oh, our employees are really happy.
Our employees seem to always want to watch the paper dry. That's weird. So they called him the father of air conditioning, which is funny because I didn't know that, but Carrier is a type of brand for refrigeration units for trucks.
Okay.
It's called a Carrier unit, so I didn't know that. So then, like I said, number 2 is the lie. They did not aid in the diseases. And then number 3, the summer movie phenomenon started thanks to AC. You might be intrigued to know that summer movie blockbusters were all because of air conditioning. Early modern air conditioners were large, bulky, and costly, so they used to be only installed in public and commercial spaces that could afford the investment. First buildings to incorporate it were government buildings, hospitals, and cinemas and theaters. To escape the heat waves in the warmer months, going to watch movies and shows in cool comfort became a popular and affordable form of entertainment, bringing more revenue than ever to cinemas and theaters.
That was smart of them to get that AC up in there.
Yeah, and I guess I've always kind of wondered that too, but anytime I kind of wondered it, my thought was just, well, the kids aren't in school, so more people have more time to see movies. That's just what I thought. But no, it just started a tradition that they knew that they were going to force people's ass in the seats. So they said, we're going to put our most high budget, most important stuff there. And now that it's not as much of a thing, that's just tradition now.
That is so interesting. Okay. That fact makes so much more sense now that you kind of explained that, because I was like, I just don't get it. But okay, yeah, totally. I see it now.
I mean, I would be a much more type A personality if my home didn't have AC.
Oh,
you know?
Oh my God.
And you would know a lot more movies if your house didn't have AC.
That is so true. I mean, like I was telling you, we just saw the new Spider-Man movie, and I wanted to do it because I was so hot. I want to do something with this kid, but I don't want to go outside. So yeah, I mean, I see it. Well, that is fascinating. Thank God for AC.
For real.
And you know what else we should be thankful for?
Could it be ads?
It could.
Oh, hi. Hello. It's Dom, and along with my co-host Amy, we are the hosts of Horror House, True Crime, and The Macabre. If, like us, you have a morbid curiosity with true crime, the paranormal, cults, and more, then our show may just satisfy your curiosities. We release episodes on Fridays and bonus episodes every other Wednesday. You can listen to us wherever you find your podcasts, and you can also find us on Instagram at horrorhouse_pod. So, all that's left to say is, until next time, my friends, stay spooky.
And we're back. I have a story from the news. And I know we've been talking a lot just in this episode about things heating up and AC units, summertime, all of this. But for this story, I think it's time that we all get educated on all things petty.
I'm up for it.
So here we go. There comes a time in most of our lives where we are forced into a weird ritualistic ceremony of sorts. Whether you've attended any wedding, had to testify in the court of law, or endured the chance of a sorority initiation.
Rob the 7-Eleven so we can both be sisters.
We've all been victims of pomp and circumstance. These experiences may sound harmless to some, but there are many individuals left scarred, with useless quotes ingrained to their brain, or bridesmaid dresses they can never wear again. Today's petty crime story took place at another type of bizarrely common ceremony, one that requires marching, hideous uniforms, and orderly procession. It's a cautionary tale with ceremonial-sized consequences. It was graduation day for high school senior Joseph Brian Shore in June of 2008. Everyone in town was excited for the day's festivities. Joseph, however, was not.
I'm a grumpy Gus.
He had always felt like it was him against the world throughout his entire schooling experience, and felt it was nearly impossible for anyone to fully understand his complicated soul.
Teardrops collide with 1,000 error messages. I am the iPad with low battery. Can't you see that I'm real? Can't you see that I feel?
This was the same feeling Joseph felt towards his family. Most of his relatives followed all of life's traditional rules and resisted emotions at all cost. while Joseph considered himself an emotional yet misunderstood individualist.
Are you there, God? It's me, a corporate-branded product on the clearance rack.
Nothing about a graduation ceremony sounded pleasant to him, yet there he was, standing in a crowded line of his classmates, wearing his pointy graduation cap and itchy robe. Just then, a screeching sound of untuned instruments began to vibrate the gym bleachers as the high school band began to play their opening march. Joseph groaned as he began to shuffle his feet along with the rest of the herded students towards the terrible music. The class slowly made its way down the long aisle leading to a stage at the other end of the gymnasium. Joseph rolled his eyes as he passed grandparents trying to snap photos and proud mothers sobbing in the stands. If this was only the beginning, he wasn't sure how he would make it through the rest of the day. After what felt like a torturous amount of time dedicated to walking, everyone at last took their seats. The ceremony was filled with cringe-worthy choir performances, an embarrassing baby picture slideshow, and a self-centered speech from the class valedictorian.
To everyone graduating today, you're welcome for passing science class.
With each and every second that passed, Joseph felt his emotions starting to negatively intensify. He hated everything about this ceremony, and this entire school for that matter. Plus, his gown was really starting to irritate his armpits. When the time finally arrived for the seniors to receive their diplomas on stage, Joseph had reached peak level of crankiness. He was so flustered by his surroundings that he felt an almost out-of-body experience as the school's superintendent announced his name.
Joseph Brian Shore.
The school official boomed into the mic. Without another thought, Joseph approached the graduation stage, walked aggressively towards the main podium, and grabbed the mic from the superintendent.
Wow, this graduation blows. Mom and Dad, where are you guys at?
He asked wildly into the mic.
Ah, there you are. Just wanted to give my entire family a big fuck you for absolutely no help with my homework. A fuck you to all my future loser classmates. And the biggest fuck you to the staff and audience for encouraging this type of event.
Joseph held the mic with one hand and began flipping everyone else off with the other. The crowd began to boo and scold Joseph, causing him to exit the stage and take his original seat. Although the ceremony continued as normally as it could, behind the scenes, local authorities were being contacted. On June 10th of 2008, 18-year-old Arab Alabama high school senior Joseph Brian Shore cursed out his family and flipped off the crowd while walking across the stage at his high school graduation. According to witnesses and authorities, not only was Joseph booed by the crowd, but someone also reported him to local authorities. At the end of the graduation ceremony, 2 police officers approached Joseph to discuss the incident, but were met with more cursing. After repeated failed attempts of restraining him and appearing to be ready to flee, Joseph was then instructed to place his hands behind his back and was under arrest. He was later charged with disorderly conduct. Even though Joseph cursed out his family on stage, police reports described the Shore family as irate because he was placed under arrest. Writings had also claimed that several times Joseph's family had to be told to calm down and back off. Arab Alabama's assistant police chief, Jeff Bailey, was quoted explaining the situation, saying, "This is a small town, a little quiet place. He basically disrupted the whole graduation with his hollering and cursing." School principal Patrick Crowder also commented on the matter, stating, "I wish it hadn't happened. I had to act and feel like I did the right thing. I had to send a message to our seniors and those in the stands. We really wanted a dignified ceremony. Although Joseph's dad, Terry Shore, agreed with news outlets that his son is a problem child who acts out spontaneously, he stood firm in his opinion that his son is no criminal. If giving the bird was a crime, you wouldn't be able to build enough prisons to house everyone. There would be repeat offenders on death row, Terry told the media outlets. Sometimes life's most common rituals can cause people to act unusually disorderly. Whether this is due to the culty undertones of these events or the uncomfortable clothing we all must wear to them, I'll let you decide. So be prepared and remain calm at your next big ceremony, because you never know when someone might try to school you.
Joey. Man, what a badass.
Oh my God.
Okay, so I wanted to say the Joey thing because it is his story. But there at the very end, you kind of pulled me out of it a little bit. I was just so off guard by how dramatic Terry was being. My God.
Oh, that wasn't Terry's only quote. There were multiple quotes from everyone, and I just kind of picked parts of everybody's. Everyone had a lot to say.
Yeah, he just seemed like a very high-strung character.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, if giving the bird was bad, people would be on death row. We'd be murdering people for giving birds. If giving the bird was illegal, I'd be locking up everybody at KFC.
Yeah, dude, it's nuts. And he kept going, too. He was like, they want my son to suffer. Like, that was a quote, too. I mean, he was on a level.
Well, you see where the son gets it then.
Yeah, and I found it to be very weird that his family was so upset about it when they were just cursed out in public.
I'd be like, you're on your own, buddy.
Dude, if Lila went up on graduation stage and was like, yeah, a big fuck you, which I also want to point out, there are no quotes. I don't know what he said into the mic, okay? All I know is that they said he cursed out his family, he cursed out the staff, and he cursed out everyone and was just saying obscenities and yelling into the mic, right? But the main part of it that was said everywhere was that he was cursing out his family. So I'm like, why are they defending him so much?
Yeah, it's like in a movie or something where somebody steals their keys and it's like, fuck you, Dad, I was actually gonna rob you this whole time. They get in the car and it won't start and they're just like, just kidding, Dad.
Yeah,
come on over, that was all a joke. That's exactly what that seems like. You're like, fuck you. You get arrested and you're like, but
can you bail me out of jail?
We've always been cool though.
Well, apparently he really didn't have to convince him too much to be on his side.
Yeah, and the dad just goes to bat for him so hard there.
So hard. And there was even a long email quoted in the article from the principal to the students, which I didn't say. The quotes went on for days and days, but I thought that those were really good, concise things of how everyone felt about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the dad, he was pretty upset. The whole family apparently was.
Honestly, I bet the school, hopefully that's their youngest kid, and they're like, okay, good, this family is out of the school.
Right.
Because I'm sure the kid was a problem, but the dad didn't seem like he was any better. So they're probably just like, let's not have to work together anymore, please.
And the dad even admitted, yeah, my son is a problem child that does all of this, but a criminal?
And I'm a problem man child.
I get that sometimes people are arrested over silly reasons. And honestly, he probably didn't even need to be arrested in this situation.
A ticket would have been fine.
Totally. But his own actions escalated it, is what it sounded like. They were just coming to scope it out and be like, okay, he's causing a ruckus here at the school. I mean, that's a family event. You know, I could see how they could be there just to make sure things didn't escalate. And then clearly they did.
Yeah, I understand kicking them out, but yeah, anything past that seems a little weird. I mean, or fining them, sure, I guess.
Right. It's a wild thing. I don't know why I had this deep, deep desire to do a graduation crime, because for us here in the Midwest, that ship has sailed. People have been out of school, but this story actually took place in June, and it got me remembering that a lot of other areas in the world, their graduations do go on during June, and other weird times too.
I don't know too much about other places and how they do that, but Yeah, I was actually thinking the whole time you were telling that, I don't think we've ever done anything around graduation before.
Yeah.
Maybe it was one of our like passing funny things with maybe clapping sound effect after it or something. But yeah, we haven't done a graduation story.
Yeah, and I wanted to do one so badly. I didn't know if it was going to be a streaker at a graduation or what it was. But when I found this one, I was like, whoa, someone literally got arrested for cursing out on the mic. Another thing I wanted to point out about this story is that there were only 2 articles total on this thing. One of them was a local one, which some of the family members said that they got some of the information incorrect. And then the other one was an actual ABC News thing. But I thought it was a very weird, bizarre tale, and I wanted to specifically do graduation. That was the main motivating thing, and I'm glad I found this one.
Did you have to sift through a bunch of graduation arresting things to find that one?
As always, when I'm personally looking for a story, I always seem to search for things, and then the first few things that pop up are always really serious crimes that happened. Even if I say like silly graduation crime, it's like a shooting at a graduation pops up, and I'm like,
triple homicide at graduation, guy wearing silly hat. It's
yeah. And you're just like, what the hell? This is not what I asked for.
Yeah.
So I did have to go through a couple really sad stories about real graduation, sad stories. And then I finally found this one. And again, not much information, but everything that I did gather from it was just too good to pass up. So this one was amazing. And because there were only 2, my God, usually there's at least 5 to make sure it was legit. But seeing it on ABC News, I was like, okay. No pictures, no videos, unfortunately, of this whole situation, guys. I wish there was.
Oh, boy. We'll have to find some good pictures for our picture post because I don't know if my crime's going to have a lot of great pictures either.
No!
I can't remember. I don't think so.
Okay. I couldn't find a mugshot. I mean, my guy was 18. They gave his name, but I didn't see any mugshot. I didn't see any viral video of him being like, fuck you, in the mic. I would have loved that.
Maybe we'll just do a picture of Eminem in a graduation gown. Because he's always angry, right?
Sure.
So I've got a story, and I'm very excited about this one because it is a bit of a different style. I love it whenever I can find a new style that I've never quite done. And I think it's a very fun story that I think this might be one that people will remember for a while.
Ooh, okay.
So why don't we just jump on in this thing? And here we go. Do you ever feel like the traditional story needs more stories? Then do I have a plot structure for you. It is called a multi-narrative plot. If you are one of those, like so many others, that get bored with following one character's story, then might I suggest you give the multi-narrative plot a chance. The multi-narrative structure breaks away from one character's point of view and one big story arc. Instead, these kinds of stories can have multiple narrators, maybe tell a story within a story, or can even bring multiple stories together to form one interconnected ending. Growing up as a young, budding movie buff, I've enjoyed my fair share of multi-narrative films. There's the classics, like Pulp Fiction, one of my personal favorites, Magnolia, or that terrible rom-com, New Year's Eve, with Michelle Pfeiffer, Zac Efron, and a billion other big names. There's a lot out there. Whatever your personal taste in movies, you've probably seen at least one movie like this. In a lot of cases, how these movies are remembered depends a lot on the payoff at the end. Many viewers can lose patience in the multi-story approach, and if it doesn't wrap up perfectly, they will feel like they've wasted their time with the cinematic journey they just took. My parents, for example, are not fans of these kinds of movies. Once a movie shifts to its third new character, you can usually hear one of them say, "What?" or just make an audibly confused sound. By the time the credits roll, I'm fighting back tears, having just gone on a journey of 8 different people's lives that left me feeling like I've uncovered a new truth to our universe. While my parents look at each other and just say, "Well, that was stupid." I'm not knocking my parents for not getting it. Not every piece of art is made for every type of person. They have the right to not like it. What's important here is that my parents don't run to every site possible and rate it 1 star just because they didn't get it.
Taste the wrath of Karen.
Ratings are for quality, not personal grievances. The reason why I bring up the multi-narrative plot structure is, well, because I'm about to tell you one of my own. Isn't that exciting? When thinking of different literary devices I can try for our show, I never really considered this as a possibility. Sure, we could tell 2 points of view that lead to 1 crime. But what if I told you I have 2 criminals, each committing their own crimes, and their powers combine to make 1 mega crime? Would you like that? Would you? I know it feels a bit like burying the lead to give you a little of what to expect, but I had to let the listeners who hate Magnolia know that this story will have a nice conclusion. So, let's challenge our attention spans and follow 2 different stories to 1 epic conclusion. Gary was a bit of a chode, just one man against the world, setting out to take advantage of people and spread hurt feelings. Living in the ultra-chill liberal state of Oregon, Gary wasn't welcome. The easygoing folk of the PNW did not need his hurtful ways killing their buzz.
Fuck you, hippies!
But anytime they planned to excommunicate Gary from the state, they would brew up a fresh pot of medicinal mushroom tea and forget how shitty he is.
How can I be mad in a world with music?
Because of the natives' understanding ways, Gary committed many petty crimes that went unchecked. He would rob local chickens to make his breakfast omelets, sold cars on Marketplace with issues he did not disclose, and would even talk about gross stuff while his company was still finishing dinner.
You know, this pudding kind of looks like a pile of shit.
To put it plainly, Gary was bad news. On the other side of Eugene, Oregon, was Dylan. Dylan was a generally okay guy, quite possibly the okayest guy you'll ever meet. With a history of equally good and bad behavior, Dylan always found a way to find balance in who he was. But on this particular day, he was experiencing a conflict. Dylan had woke up on the wrong side of the bed. He sipped his coffee as he thought back to how difficult it was for him to get up on the right side of the bed. His Great Dane, Trixie, had sprawled across his usual side, making it nearly impossible to get around her. He tried to get his balance to stand up on the bed and walk over Trixie, but it was no use. Every time he would lift himself from his super soft bed, the memory foam would contour to his feet, sucking him back down inside. It was like the scene where Johnny Depp dies in the original A Nightmare on Elm Street. But instead of only a gaping hole of blood being left in the bed, Dylan was pulled into an oasis of comfort. Deciding to give up on fighting with getting around his dog, he cried out, "Fine! I'll just get up on the wrong side of the bed!" As he rolled over and off the vacant side. Famous last words, Dylan said to himself after replaying the morning scenario in his head. He knew that the actions he made in bed that morning could have the power to change the course of the rest of his life. Because he decided to tempt fate in the way he did, Dylan decided to have a low-key day. As he mapped out the safest route through his day, Dylan's phone began to ring. "Hey Dylan, I was just thinking about you and wanting to tell you good morning," Dylan's new PNW girlfriend Cassie said. Thanks," Dylan responded. "But please, don't try to throw my day off, okay? I woke up on the wrong side of the bed this morning." "Oh my god, honey, that's awful. If there's anything you need me to do, just let me know. I'll leave you alone for now," Cassie said. Once Cassie hung up her phone, Dylan got back to being cautious and suspicious of any trouble he may encounter. As for our chode across town, Gary had been pulling dirtbag moves all day. He poured honey all over the park's playground equipment to attract bugs, and stole cigarettes from the old lady working at the convenience store.
Hey, look over there!
Huh?
All in all, it was a pretty basic day. That was, until Gary saw a poster that really caught his eye. On the gas station corkboard sat an estate sale ad. Although it was printed in black and white, on the cheapest looking paper available, it shined like Las Vegas Boulevard. It was like a celebration of all things sad in the world. Widowed old woman, mortgage foreclosure, antique furniture.
Fuck, yes!
This felt like the place to either rob an old woman or marry her for her fortune. Either way, Gary wanted to make some money and ruin some days. The only problem is that the estate sale was 40 miles away, and Gary was on E. "Excuse me again, madam," Gary hollered back to the old woman he just robbed. "How much for a gallon of your finest gasoline?" "That'll be $2.67, my good fellow," the old woman responded. Gary did some mental math. He could afford a few gallons of gas, but if he did that, he couldn't afford drugs later. The idea of you have to spend money to make money also came into his head, but he wasn't in the mental headspace to make such a large bet on himself. Thanking the woman for her time,
Thank you.
Gary decided to exit the gas station and find another way. Meanwhile, Dylan was still carefully walking on eggshells with his day. He was so cautious, he wore a shirt asking for silence, and even drank his water from a sippy cup in order to avoid any sad feelings had he spilled water on that shirt. But no amount of preventative steps could protect Dylan from the ways of waking up on the wrong side of the bed. The solid foundation he worked so hard to keep began to erode as his least favorite coworker asked for a ride home, and Cassie sent him a text about how a guy at the gym hit on her. "Why would she tell me about that after I specifically told her earlier that I woke up on the wrong side of the bed today?" Dylan yelled to his coworker as they drove to his house. "This whole thing reminds me of my favorite anime, Cell Shade Hearts, where the main character, a half-wolf, half-sea-doo abomination of science, has to find love in a world inhabited by humans," the coworker said, trying to connect Dylan's situation to something he understood. Dylan responded with a simple, "Thanks," remembering that he absolutely hates everything about his coworker. With that remark thrown completely out, Dylan decided to finally text Cassie back. "How could you? You know how I started my day today, Cassie," the text read. Cassie quickly responded, reassuring her man. "Cheer up, honey. I didn't do anything. I told them to fuck off. I was just remarking on how annoying it is." The text response had already fallen on deaf ears, as Dylan was already drawing conclusions of massive insecurity. "Listen, you know I woke up on the wrong side of the bed this morning," the text started. "You didn't take that into consideration, and now I'm really having some thoughts. We need to talk. My coworker lives near a U-Haul location. Meet me there in 30 minutes. Then we'll have a discussion about our future." 30 minutes later, Cassie pulled up to the U-Haul location, where Dylan was already standing in a dramatic way. "I'm so sorry that I hurt your feelings, Dylan," Cassie yelled, as she quickly came to comfort her new boyfriend. "Save it," Dylan yelled, while shrugging off Cassie's attempts at physically comforting him. "I don't have feelings. I'm tough. And I don't have time for this either. Let's talk tomorrow after I've thought this through more." Cassie stopped dead in her tracks and remained calm. "But you asked me to come out here," she said, before quickly being cut off by Dylan. "I woke up on the wrong side of the bed," Dylan screamed, as he walked off to get in his truck. But just across the parking lot from this lover's quarrel lay Gary, the chode of the town. Quietly sneaking onto the U-Haul lot after hours felt like the perfect plan for getting gas for the estate sale. Having just finished siphoning all of the gas out of his third truck, he had been lucky enough to witness the very dramatic spectacle that was Dylan and Cassie's argument.
I'm upset.
Although Gary was a bad guy and took advantage of everyone, even he wouldn't have treated Cassie in the way that Dylan was. But as the douchebag code of conduct states, one must not call out another douche for doing douche things, especially if you are committing a crime and trying not to get caught. Because of this argument, Gary continued siphoning gas and watching the couple. He watched as Dylan yelled at Cassie and stormed off to his truck. Dylan jumped into the cab of his big truck, did part of a donut in the parking lot, and pulled back up to Cassie. She wiped the tears from her face as Dylan slowly rolled down his window. And there's just one more thing I have to add, Dylan barked. But instead of finishing his sentence, he pulled an already lit firework from the cab of his truck. He aimed the phallic-shaped rocket at Cassie as the light from the lit fuse reflected off his face, exposing the horrific monster that waking up on the wrong side of the bed made him. As the fuse disappeared, igniting the rocket and causing it to take off, Cassie immediately ducked for safety. The firework zipped past Cassie's face as it landed towards the back of the parking lot, sparking up colors of fluorescent blues and greens. Before Cassie could even remark on how messed up a stunt that was, the couple watched as an entire U-Haul truck burst into flames. Dylan slowly turned away from the flames to look at Cassie. With his eyes wider than a two-person love seat, Dylan floored it, leaving Cassie to witness the destruction. As Cassie watched more U-Haul trucks become engulfed in flames, she did notice one weird spark of light out of the left corner of her eye. Turning slightly, she saw another unexpected sight to top all that she had already seen this evening. There, coming from behind the line of U-Hauls, was a man on fire. The man stumbled around on his feet, screaming in pain, before dropping back to the ground to roll. By the time Cassie had gotten off the phone with the fire department, the man had already gotten up and escaped down the road. On April 5th, 2020, Eugene, Oregon police and fire department arrived to a call of several U-Haul trucks on fire. At the time of their arrival, 3 trucks were completely engulfed while a 4th was just beginning to burn. After surveillance was obtained, cameras caught an unknown man siphoning gas from several U-Haul trucks. However, in an unrelated matter, a 28-year-old male, later identified as Dylan Thomas Hanna, and a female in her 30s, were having a verbal dispute in the same parking lot. The two continued to yell, Dylan in a running vehicle and the woman standing outside. In the heat of the argument, Dylan Hanna reached into his vehicle and threw a lit and exploding firework at the woman. According to the report, the firework exploded, sending burning pieces under a U-Haul truck right at the unsuspecting gas thief. This caused the gas to ignite and light the vehicles on fire, including the man siphoning the gas. The gas thief was last seen running down the connecting road on fire and was never caught. The police went to Dylan Hanna's home, where they recovered a second firework and arrested him. He was charged with criminal mischief in the 2nd degree, reckless burning, and recklessly endangering. The unknown female asked to remain anonymous and not be part of the news stories. So what do you think of that? I really outdid myself this time, didn't I? So many storyline, much fun. This story goes down as one of the most bizarre petty crime instances of happenstance that I've ever heard of. I'm sure gas siphoning happens quite often, but what are the chances that someone chooses to randomly throw a lit firework at someone in an act of retaliation around the same time someone is secretly siphoning gas in the same vicinity? Absolutely wild. This week, I don't think I'll be giving any actionable tips like I end some stories with. The morals of this story are simple. Don't be a chode, avoid the wrong side of the bed, and don't throw a lit firework at someone if you're mad at them. Seriously, of all the things to do, just don't do it.
Wow. That story really did blow my mind.
Isn't that insane?
How damn bizarre is that?
It's so weird, and let me make it even a tad more bizarre for you.
Okay.
This all happened at like 4 a.m. I didn't do that in my story because I couldn't make it make sense.
Where did you say that this took place again?
Eugene, Oregon.
Okay, Oregon. And you said it was in April of 2020. So, like, this is pretty early into the pandemic.
Should be shutdowns, I would think.
Yeah, there would have been. So they're arguing and fireworking and siphoning, and it's all in the same exact parking lot at 4 a.m.?
A U-Haul parking lot at 4 a.m.
Whoa.
Now, it would be easy for a person to assume that one of them works there.
Yeah.
At least one of them.
Okay.
But still, a guy is siphoning gas at 4 a.m. You're in there having a verbal argument. I mean, the guy and the girl could work there, and maybe they were having a verbal argument about something. But still, I don't really quite understand
The timing.
The timing of it, yeah.
That had to happen so perfectly. Imagine if they would have had their argument an hour later or before, or if the guy would have siphoned cars on the other side of the street. I mean, I know he was doing U-Hauls, which I will say, full circle from my U-Haul moving dreadful dilemma. Now we're back at it at the end because I was having a very hard time with connections other than the fact that both of our character lines involved saying fuck you in them.
Okay.
But wow, how wild. You really got us trying to make us think that the one guy was better than the other. Honest to God, I think I would take the gas siphoner over the raging firework thrower.
Yeah, my whole goal with it was, and I don't think I landed it perfectly, but my goal was to basically just have one character just like, I'm really irritable, don't ruin my day. And just have another character who's like, I like to ruin days. And just expect it to be a clash between the two.
Yeah.
But like I said, don't know anything about the gas siphoner. And I don't know anything about the main guy either. But all I know is, for some reason, you throw a lit firework at a woman at 4 a.m. So you're probably a little doucher.
I would concur. And also, I'm sure you're going to cut this out because it was a mistake, but when you gave that Freudian slip of calling Dylan villain before I knew he was a bad guy, that was a good little hint for me. But damn, the firework thing, I mean, it's on video right here and now. My mouth dropped. I didn't see that coming at all.
Yeah, I love to do foreshadowing and stuff. And I love building people's character all around the crime they committed, even though it probably had nothing to do with what their character's like. But yeah, with him, I wasn't going to say anything about him liking fireworks. It's like, ba-da-da-da-da, and fireworks shows up. Boom.
Yeah, it's like, what the hell?
Yeah, way out of left field. But to me, that felt very out of left field.
Yeah.
That's not how you handle a situation.
Oh my God. I'm so glad he got in trouble. Out of everyone in that situation, I mean, yeah, you shouldn't siphon gas, guys. Don't do that. But let him go. He just needed some gas, right?
Well, the siphoning guy didn't get in trouble.
I know, and I'm okay.
Yeah, I mean, the fire is only punishment.
The way that you built his character made him sound like he was robbing old ladies left and right and trying to get to an estate sale.
That's true.
You know what? Maybe he wasn't in all of reality. So I think I'm on his side.
Maybe he's an honest guy who's siphoning gas.
Maybe he's just siphoning gas for his family. Trevin, did you ever think about that?
I just think there's cooler crimes to pull than gas siphoning.
It wouldn't be one that I would like to do.
No. But that was just another thing. Just the timing of it's so nuts. It would be one thing if he siphoned gas and 3 hours later the puddles were still there and it happened. But the dude was still in the act.
And the fact that this dude ran off on fire?
Yeah.
Like, I hope you're okay out there, bro.
And you know those situations, they're like, check all the ERs in a certain parameter, you know, like look for any burn victims.
Can you imagine, though, being the woman in this story, the unidentified poor woman in the story? Like, you are staying there with clearly a douchebag lover who just threw a freaking firework at you, which is bad enough. Then it sets on fire. Then you see a random man on fire running away.
And that guy abandoned you the second it blew up. He was like, oh shit.
And he left her.
Did you really think he was going to get away with that?
Ooh.
They said that before the fires were put out, he was arrested because that woman was just like, yeah, this is the guy.
Yeah. What did he think? Maybe he just thought, she won't turn me in if she knows what's coming. I got many more fireworks.
But you know what? That's where our stories connect.
Oh, how?
You do something totally dickheadish, and then you turn around and hope that other person doesn't screw you back over.
Oh, that's true.
Your dude was like, fuck you, family, and then he was like, please bail me out.
That's true.
My dude throws a firework at the girl, and then he was at her mercy.
Yeah.
He didn't ask, but he was hoping.
Oh, he was hoping. Are you kidding me?
Because I said he was at home. It's not like he was trying to hide.
Yeah,
he
was
get out
not
of town.
hiding. Yeah, he was like, they got me. Even after what I did, they
Yeah.
got my back.
I don't know what term describes that, but giving the power to the victim.
Yeah, I guess. Damn. Well, I hope that everyone is having the best week. And before I say goodbye, I did just want to point out, subscribe to our show, you guys. I know we talk a lot about reviews, but something that I really want to keep pushing is hitting that subscribe button. Because I know for me as a listener, it helps me to remember when a new episode comes out. And also it helps us. Every single time you guys subscribe, even if you can't listen to it that day, it still shows up as as you guys listening to our show. So if you can't listen right away, right? Isn't that
Yeah,
the thing?
and if Apple's ever going to give us a shot and put us on their main page, if you get a certain amount of new subscribers, that does help.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, there are many, many benefits to it. So if you haven't already, stop what you're doing and hit the subscribe button wherever you listen. But I forgot my fucking
That's a
whole
big
ending
old
line.
but.
But just remember, no matter the crime, big or small, in the end, we're all doomed.
Doomed to get a little hot in the summertime.
Bye.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to us tell stories about a couple of douchebags. We appreciate it.
And if you have insanely irrational fears that play out completely in your head while you're taking your dog out to take a shit, why don't you follow us on social media? Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. Live, laugh, Larceny.
And if you ever made a huge ass out of yourself on your graduation day, send us your story. livelaughlarceny@gmail.com.
And rate us the same thing that gas siphoner would rate his backdoor doctor. 5 stars. Don't know how you did it, but you blew me away. Give your 5-star reviews at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Good Pods.
People know who fucking Dr. Dre is, right? Like, I don't have to say, like, rapper Dr. Dre, do I?
Your boy knows, but
Maybe I will. I'll call him a
maybe
rapper.
a hip-hop artist, rapper, something like
I'll
that.
call him hip-hop mogul.
Ooh, I like that.
Ooh, God. Dr. Dre. Okay.
Moo goo gaga.